Okay, so under here, we're going to put in just a few little things. Now, most of it is going to be just down this back end. It's a modern jet. It's not like something old from the 60s and 70s where it used to just leak and bleed hydraulic fluids and stuff like that. So we just want to add a little bit of staining, just a few things going down on here. So you've got a couple of different ways of doing it. You've got the traditional oils. So we've got the Untitled lungs just down in here. So we've got like an orangey colour, and obviously my favourite, which is the smoke colour, which is great. We've shown doing those before. The other one you can actually do, we've got these two as well. So we've got engine oil, and we've got gear wash. Gear wash is really dark. It's what we use for all our gear washes and everything else. It looks absolutely great. But if you wanted to, you've got this one here for a more reddish type look and everything else. Big thing with all the enamels is you can hear I've got some stainless steel nuts in there just to help mix this stuff up, because it does tend to go off. Okay, so it is almost a very similar motion as we did before. So what we do, we're just going to grab a little bit of this. Okay, so we just got on the capful just down in here, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to pick out a few areas. So we're probably thinking maybe we're going to get a little bit coming out of here. Okay, so we're just going to grab a little bit of that. We're going to add a little bit just down in here. Okay, we're assuming maybe we just get the odd little smirk or something going on maybe in these areas. So we're just looking for vents, you know, any areas that could do it, and we're literally poking it in these areas for want of a better word. Okay, so we're just going to add plenty to these areas just like that. Okay, so I'll tell you what we're also going to do. We're going to pretend we've got something leaching out of these as well. Okay, so that's that first one on. Then we take your cotton bud. Okay, in direction of airflow, we're just going to start to work it down. Okay, and these are nice big wet marks, and again you're thinking not too much happening, but don't forget it's subtle. Okay, just that subtleness, and then we're just going to run through the whole area. So if you've got something that's going on here, we're just going to drag it that entire distance and down just like that. Okay, so that's coat one, and then we're just going to come back in, and we're just going to come in and we're going to use a little bit more. Okay, so now we've got, what happens is you've got something that's biting down there now. Okay, so it's got something to stick to. Okay, so then we can just take the brush again, sorry, the cotton bud, and again we're just going to streak it back. Okay. And all you're just trying to do is just take out anything that's in a little bit hard. And just progressing, so you can see how it falls across, or hopefully how it falls across from one panel to the next now. So we're dragging through one, and then it comes across, and it drags through number two, and so forth and so on. And it's just going to give us this sort of just leakage type look and things like that as we go. And then what you can do, you can take a little bit of oils. So we've got down in here this lovely little orange colour. So we're just going to take a little bit of this, and we're just going to pop it in a few of these little areas. Okay, so we're just mixing with the enamels that are on here. And don't forget, it's all enamel based, all of this, so it really doesn't matter whose it is or what you use. And then what will happen is these will mix together. Okay, so we're just going to... Okay, and now we've got this lovely orangey, hydraulic-y look. Okay, and then again, we're just going to carry on over that entire area. Okay. Okay, and that gives us our look. Now the thing is, you can blend, distress, whichever way you want to do this one as well. So there's a couple of little techniques for this one. First one is to take an older brush or a flat brush just like this. To start with, you can use it dry, and you can just gently Just get into some of these areas a little bit more. Just flip them all around. Everything. Okay, and that just gives us our hydraulic-y leaks and various things going on. And then of course you can just grab a little bit of enamel thinners. Popper. Okay, way too much. Okay, I'm just going to clean out the brush. Now the thing is, if you just come on and put that on, it will just wash it all away. So what you want to do is knock as much off of your brush as you can. Clean out your brush, so all you've got literally is a moist brush. Okay, and then what you can do, you can work it a little bit more. So some of these little stains and various things. So we can just turn this around. Okay. And again, I'm just trying to lengthen maneuver. So anyway, it's a little bit strong, that's not a problem. And we can just add in these little bits of distress, and then exactly the same last little bit up. What we're going to do, I'm just going to take a tiny bit of black, and this is the smoke colour, and this is just going to give us a little bit of depth. So we're just going to add, because obviously we want lots of various things going on here. We're just trying to get different depths of colours and various things going on here. A little bit of short room in here. Okay. And again, you can use our clean brush. These mixtures, and what we're going to do in a moment is just going to blend all these together. Okay, so if you're happy, I'm just going to take the cotton bud, okay, and we're just going to lightly start to drag it. So you've got the oranges and all the different colours working. And don't worry about it if you lose an area, because you can pop it back in anyway, but that's all we're trying to do now. Now we're just going to use this build up of oils and various things just to accentuate and go, just like that. Okay, so very, very straightforward. Okay, and then again, if you want to just gently play with it a little bit, so we're just going to knock everything off the brush, making sure you get everything you can off of this brush, just to give it a little blend. Hydraulic-y and smooth. And again, if you want to take a little bit away, it's a little bit strong just down in this area. What I'm going to do is going to take a little bit on the brush. I'm just going to drag this all around here. I'm going to add a little bit in here. Just into Okay, and that is how we do that. Just a little bit of differences in the textures, hydraulic-y things, and everything that's just going around just down under here. As I said, it shouldn't be too strong. You don't want it too in your face or anything else. Exactly the same goes for up on top. So up on top here, all we've done, you've got a couple of options. We'll show you both ways. Okay, so if you take a little bit of gear wash, we've already done some up here, but we can show you on here. Just get rid of everything that's on there. Okay, so this is the gear wash. So again, we're just going to pop tiniest little bits here and there. We don't want it everywhere. We're just trying to in and perhaps distress just a little bit. Just down on these. Okay, again, you can just put a little bit just down in here if we want. And again, this is something about texture in amongst everything. Okay, as we'll see in a moment, we're just trying to dot this around. Okay, so again, it's just going to cause texture and various things. Okay, once those are on, you can just move this over to get a better look. These are in and done. Okay, so normally you let these dry just for a little bit, but as you can see, we're just going to pull these around. Again, we don't want to take them all away because otherwise there wasn't any point doing it in the first place. Okay. It's warm in here, so it's not going to take too long. You can see how these are fading back in here, but don't forget you can still pull them a little bit if you want to just to blend them down just a little bit. Okay. Alright, and then obviously in here it's a little bit strong and we're just going to fade in. So we're just going to rub, just going to fade these back just a little bit. Just so they're a hint of the former selves. And again, if it's looking all a little bit heavy, you can just come along, grab a little bit. This, we're just going to work it all back. Okay, and it just gives you subtle streaking down on there. Okay, and you're just blending and doing your bit right the way through. And you can carry that if you wanted to right the way over the model, and obviously you've got hydraulic areas, you can do different things with the hydraulics, but also this isn't just about adding a colour, it's also a texture. So when you catch this thing, well hopefully if we do this, catch it in the light, there we go. You can see how we got different sheens and shades. So we got the dullness now of where the oils were compared to the shininess of everywhere else. And on the back here, hopefully you can see a myriad of colours starting to work through this. And there it is on that other side as well. So that's what we're trying to achieve on this, is just to go through and just to give us a three-dimensional look. So we got various things going down on here. It's all quite shiny, even though this is flat. And that's all we're trying to do, is just trying to work all these different things into the equation. So that way, when it's all together, everything is just that thing of saying you've got different lights, different things affecting, different things you can see in the panel lines because they're flatter and duller, shiny areas and things like that, so forth and so on. Okay, so that's pretty good. So what we're going to do, get the weapons fit all fitted onto this one. We'll talk about obviously fitting it in as we do it in a moment. I've got to do a little bit of hand painting around the front here. We can unmask up, make sure the canopy is all good. If that's all good, we're really getting near the end. Okay, so popping along really nicely. So some of these areas have dried now. So if we just, a bit tricky to handle. Okay, so the track on the front, sights are in and they've been painted. If we get the camera label, there we go. They're in there just like that. So those are in. The lights are all dried in there now, really, really nice. And you can see that little bit of oiling work and streaking work just down the back on there. It's very nice indeed. Again, if you wanted to fade it back, do anything like that, a couple of wipes and you'll be good to go. And as you can see, we have now got our weapons fit starting to take shape. So, being a little bit careful because I keep breaking off the pitot. The refueling probe. Okay, so we're just going to stick that there. So you got the locating holes. This is obviously for the fuel tank. It's going to fit in there. What you want to do is obviously just make sure we've got no bearing in here. So what we do, we're just going to pop a blade down just to make sure we got nothing that's going to stick and get in the way. Okay, the other thing as well I always do is you got the locating holes. Sometimes it can not want to go in there. So if you just give them a bit of a twiddle with a Phillips head screwdriver, it just tapers the end, it just countersinks it a little bit, which just enables the part to fit in. And always test fit, because you want to make sure that it's in there and it's going to go in. So we're just going to, that actually fits very nicely anyway. Okay, so we're happy with that. What I tend to do is a couple of drops of super glue. Now the reason for using CA glue is it's got instant grab, and this is my newfound favourite super glue. And all I'm going to do is the holes each side, and then all we're going to do, just take a little cocktail stick and we're just going to smooth it around. This way it stops it from bulging and getting a nasty mark as if it squishes out. Okay, so with that in mind, we're just going to pop the front one in and then the rear one. And then we're going to hold it with our finger and then we can flip it over and we can just line it up. So we're doing line of sight, so we're looking down it, we're making sure that fuel tank is sitting square and it's not proud or anything else like that. Okay, we're just going to give it a second or two just to start to bite. As soon as it's got a good bite, what I tend to do, I'll put the model down and then I look at it from below just to make sure it's hanging perfectly down, because obviously you don't want it sticking off at an angle and all the rest of it. So that's quite nicely done, that's in there. And then to be honest, with this bomb one, which to be honest these bombs have turned out really, really nice, do like this rack. So what we're going to do is, as you can see, we don't have any pins or anything that goes in. It has these little bars each side and down the back. But just make sure that you've taken the tabs off the top of it, otherwise that's going to give you a problem again. So what we can do, we're going to basically repeat what we just did. I'm just going to sit that in there, and then you might notice down here we've got 2 pins and there's one small one at the back, and that is how this is going to fit in, and it goes in exactly the same way. So what we're going to do, we're just going to put in a little bit of glue there, just a little bit of glue at the rear, and what I'm going to do is just push it up and down. Okay. And then we come in. Now the reason that I use super glue, to be honest, this one's a little bit more tricky because we have to get them in those pinholes and all lined up, is you can take it off at any point and reposition it. You know, you often hear me call it the ping factor, and that is where what I want to do is literally perhaps remove it. And the great thing with super glue is you can flick it, crack it, and then it just comes away. Also, if it does get damaged in transit, and again we're just checking to make sure that that is sitting correctly, and it just needs to go a little bit to one side. Okay, and again we're just going to pop this down, looking at looking good, all squared and everything else. Okay, so that's no problem. But the thing is, anything that happens in transit, if it breaks in transit, if you're taking it to a model show, it's a beautiful clean break. Drop a super glue, you can put it back and you're good to go. If you do it with something like a weld action glue, although it's going to be naturally, it's going to be stronger and it shouldn't fly off or anything else like that, your drawback to it is though, if it does have a shock or something else happens to it, it's going to bend it and it's going to not be a clean break, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to actually fix. So this is where you have that dilemma. Do you go in there with something that's a little bit stronger so it's not going to break, or do you go with something that's got a nice easy break and it's easy to fix? And that's why I tend to use aerials and things like that with just something that's going to be very, very easy to fix, because if an aerial bends, it's very difficult to get it straight again, and so forth and so on. So that's those done just like that. And then as we can see underneath, you can see down on here we've got this gorgeous weapons fit, and if we carefully hold it up to the camera. You can see we're all square, we're all looking very nice with the gear and everything, and it does look very much the part on there, just like that. Okay, so that's those done. Same time now we can just unmask the canopy, because as always I'm not going to be overcoating this. The reason for that is, the reason I don't overcoat is purely because I like to have that more natural look about the actual sheen, so I don't go over it. You notice that all of my models recently have all been quite shiny, so I'm just, this is the bit where you hope that this is all going to be nice. And there we go, that's our canopy done. And considering we had all that trouble down here on the front edge and things like that, that's actually worked really nicely. And then we can actually just do a quick test fit, because we've got to put the seat in, which we've still got over here. Okay, we've got to do a little bit of work on this, yeah. I think we're going to do a little bit with the harnesses and things like that, but generally, hopefully it'll just sit in here. Can't remember how it goes in. I'm just working out how we set this one in now. It's in there, and then obviously these will sit to the side, and it has this nice open look to it, which is exactly what we're after, just like that. Okay, we've got the missiles which are going to go on the wingtips. We'll get those fitted in a moment. We're going to get those on exactly the same way, again using a tiny little bit of super glue. Once you're happy, and if you wanted to actually strengthen those up, what you could do is just come in with a little bit of quickset extra thins, great for it. Touch it down the back end, so down the back here of actually the pylon, the glue will flow down, the paint will turn white, but don't panic. What will happen is it will just weld itself up and gives you a stronger fit. But as I said, from my point of view, I quite like having them with a more of an easy break feel to them, so I always leave them like that. So we've got that one done. So what we're going to do, we'll get those on the side, have a general quick look around it, make sure we're all happy with it. We can do the navigation lights next, which are just the little ones which are going to go over it. So we'll get those pre-painted, obviously with a little bit of clear green and a little bit of clear red. So for that, we're going to be using Tamiya's XF25 and X27. Okay, clear colours, very straightforward. We just pop those in there, and we're getting ready for the final reveal. And there we go, we've all finished. So last couple of touches that went down onto this one was obviously the nav lights. So for that, I actually just used a tiny drop of PVA glue, put a tiny ball on there, let that dry, and then cleaned it up and painted it. So when you look at it, hopefully you can see this little guy on the top, and when you rotate it, it just gives you that nice lump on the side. We also did it on that wingtip one just down under there. You can see we've got the green one on the underside on that wingtip as well. I prefer doing it that way because the trouble is it's got a class part and it's got a flat part with a dome on it, so to put that in is going to be really difficult. So we just exaggerated them a little bit more. We made the actual PVA glue a little bit bigger, so as it dried out it shrinks back. As soon as it's dry, you can then just pop a little bit of clear red and clear green over those, and it will then just give a nicer effect. Again, it's a bit like doing tiny little windows. By the time you flapped around trying to do it, it's easier to make your own and do it that way. So that's what we did on that one. A couple other little changes we made as we were putting this thing together. You might see down here on this nose section, the little track and scan and the receiver on there. Looking at reference photos, they're just light grey. I don't even know why they've actually made it in clear parts, because they're not. So that's what we've done on that one. We've gone through, we've tidied up like that one. Down here in here, the HUD section just at the back, the base of it I still had clear, so we went through and touched up that one. And as you can see, we've gone through the motions of it just like that. And then on the underside, okay, this is where you have to be very difficult. You can see we've got all the various things going on with it just down underneath there. The weapons pylons, again, I haven't gone through that thing of physically sticking them in with actually using like weld action glue. They are just super glued in there just to hold it in place. But obviously we've got those air-to-air missiles on the outside as well, gone through the motions popping those down and on. Again, instructions are a little bit vague, if we're honest. This is the old Revell instructions. It's not like the new ones, but it does point out that you're supposed to have pylons down on here. So when you look at the weapons fit for these missiles on the side, and this is where my confusion was occurring, you can probably see on these, you've actually got this situation where it looks like there's another rail on there. and I'm looking for it, and I'm looking for it, and I can't find it. So to be honest with you, what I did is I went online, had a good look at a lot of reference photos of the Rafale M, and it looks like it doesn't carry it anyway. The missile does come a little bit further forward than normal, so if you look at you've got a little mark just down at the end. It does seem to sit in there, so we've done that. The other thing as well, these leading edges of the actual rails, they've got a darker colour to them, and so has the actual front areas down in here. Okay, so we've got them just here, and also you see the little green touches. Hopefully they will show as green. I know the camera doesn't like it at all. Okay, but they've got the little green. To be honest, I couldn't think of the colour it was. When you look at it, it's very specific. It's like a light green. So I ended up using, where is it? The epoxy primer colour, which is, so I actually hand painted it on 3 coats. It's really, really thin. It doesn't like being hand painted at all. So put coat 1 down, let it dry, put coat 2, coat 3, and we built it up. So it's this sort of greeny colour-ish thing that they use as well. So doing that one. And that was it, really. Just came together very, very nicely. Again, I don't do a top coat. I don't go this thing of saying, right now we're going to give it a flat coat. I like this 3-dimensional look to the paintwork. Something I've been doing a long time now, but you can see it's really, really shiny. But then you look at it from here and it's dead flat. And when you look at aircraft in the natural environment, they're not dead flat. They have different textures and tones, and that's where it comes in well, because where we've got the wash, it's dead flat. Where we haven't, it's slightly more shiny. And then where we've gone in with oils and things like that, just doing those little smudging techniques, it's just done that thing of really just breaking it up and giving it sort of different tones and different environments and different lights and different angles. And that's really what we've done to this particular one. I have to say, it's not available, but it is coming back very, very shortly at the time of doing this, which is April 2018. This kit is not available. They are bringing out the C, which should be out in June, which is good news for us, which is actually the Air Force version, but the naval one isn't around at the moment. But I do believe, apart from a couple of little pylons and various things, you should be able to make the actual M version as well as the C, okay, so out of the same box. Just depends on how Revell actually rebox this one that's just about to really be re-released. I think, personally, it's one of the best kits they've ever done. I put this one and their F-15 of light years ahead of anything else that Revell has ever done years ago. And don't forget, both of those kits, and especially this one, is over 10 years old now. I think it first got released in around about 2008, was it? Something else like that? 2009 maybe. Perhaps it's not quite 10 years, but it is right up there. This is on a par with anything Hasegawa could do or anything else. That said, there is a couple of noticeable shortcomings with this particular kit. Primary one is the intakes. The intakes don't have anything behind them. So first stage compressor fans, normally you look down the intakes, you can see those engines. Yeah, what you can actually see is daylight out the back. And if you remove one of the said engines, or in fact these aren't fixed, we've done them loose, and then we look down here, you can see light, which is a little bit unfortunate, and it is definitely a little bit of a shortcoming with its actual kit. But again, it's only a small little shortcoming. It's not end of the world type stuff. But at the end of the day, it would be nice if there was something in there. As far as I'm also aware, there isn't any aftermarket, so you can't go in there and put in your own bits and pieces either. So that is definitely a little bit of a shortcoming to it. Easy fix, fog covers every time. Put a little bit of a fog cover in there and you'd be great. The downside is the actual way that they do these ones tends to be the bag type, as I call them, and not the plug. So it's the one that goes on the outside and gets strapped to it, rather than the bungs that get shoved in. Bungs, easy, plastic card, make them out of foam, whatever you like, push in the hole. The other ones, you've got to put them round. Latex gloves, I think, is my usual way of doing it. But for this particular one, we haven't bothered. We haven't done that. The other shortcoming really is just the actual cockpit section itself. It's not the most detailed one in there, but to be honest with you, you can't see a great deal in there. It's one of those ones, it's very much hidden down in the depths of the cockpit. The way it is, the way you've got that large center display which has the combing all the way around it, you can't see too much down in there, but it is a little bit of a shortcoming, and it might be worth going down the route if you're going to do this one with an aftermarket resin ejector seat. I think that's all it needs really, just to liven it up and make its way through. Apart from that, fit, no real issues. Usual problems with these types of things. You've got this trouble with the actual intakes, the way you go in. I've hidden mine with some heavy weathering down in there just to make a feature of it rather than try and avoid it. So we've done that one, and again, the rest of it though goes really, really nicely. Take your time getting those wings on. getting them joined up, doing a little bit of filler work if required. If you get that one down packed nicely, you'll have no problem with the rest of it. It is a little bit unfortunate as well, we can't actually have the control surfaces at different angles, things like that. That's a nice touch, but I'll be honest with you, I have built this kit in the past, and that's exactly what I did. I cut them and had them down slightly and drooped, and again, it's something that doesn't take too much time to do, but it's a shame that it doesn't actually come with a kit. Apart from that, it's a beautiful kit, very nice recessed details on all this one, very nice raised details as well. So from that point of view, you've got a nice balance between the two, and very much a straightforward build. It's not a complicated build, just don't fuss over it too much. Just get it in there, use filler where it's required, and sand, blend, rescribe and re-rivet, and that way you'll be absolutely fine with it. But generally, it's one of those kits that looks a lot more complicated than I think it really is. It goes together very, very nicely with just a few little minor issues, which we've covered in this video build anyway, and I've shown you exactly how I've dealt with them. But I have to say, I built this kit, as I said, probably it must be, I think, about 8 years ago now, and I forgot how nice it is, and it is nice to come back and do this kit again. It is a little bit of a homage, because for all you people who know us, really been following Flory models for a long time, we actually used this kit as the promotional for using the Flory models wash. We had all the promo pictures with this particular aircraft, because I used extensively, or exclusively, the Flory models wash right the way over it, just to show it off back in the day. And now, revisiting the kit and using other techniques now, so we've used oils on this one and different type of weathering now, instead of it just being as we did before over a satin finish. It's really nice to come back with it. I've enjoyed it, I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, join me again next time.